Here's all the Easter eggs and what you missed on Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl halftime show. Before the performance itself, we had the Apple Music commercial that plays The Old Guard is Dead from Philly rapper and activist Guy Guevara, who is known for his strong communist lyrics. In the beginning of the show, we see that the performance is set on a video game with the stage shaped as PlayStation controller buttons. Here he watched the game of life in the perspective of a black man. Note a charging bar at the crown. The game's guide played by Samuel L. Jackson is Uncle Sam, a personification of the United States that is often used to criticize the American chauvinist and imperialist culture. Here he's a black version that alludes to Uncle Tom's stereotype of the submissive black person like Samuel's character Steven from Django Unchained film. Uncle Sam was once mentioned on Wesley's theory from To Pimp a Butterfly as a figure that exploits black Americans. Uncle Sam announced the start of the Great American Game, which is what the Super Bowl is, the most important televised event in the United States, which is why NFL has so many restrictions and the show is very controlled. Kendrick starts at the square stage. Sony had initial intentions in these PlayStation buttons, and it's quite possible that this is used in the show. The square was thought for menus and documents. And here I think it's a representative of the start of the game. Kendrick is at the top of a Buick GNX, which is the name of his newest album. Cars have been a major element in hip-hop culture, and Kendrick uses an upgraded and limited version of the Grand National car released in 1987, the year he was born. Also is told that when he was born, his dad drove him home in a Buick Regal, which shows the emotional connection that he had with Buick cars. A brief comment about fashion. Kendrick Lamar is using a PG Lang jacket designed by Martine Rose that has Gloria sign. It's the last track on GNX and it's a meta-language song about his personal development as a rapper and a talk about writing and his pen. The letter A necklace is from the PG Lang logo, but possibly a play with A minor from Not Like Us. From the start, Kendrick showed that he came to play. Like in GNX album, he has a combative attitude that is tired of being beaten. The first song is an unleashed track that is said to be called Bodies and say things like no more handshakes and hugs and that everybody must be judged. There is a reference to Drake's beef that started all of this. Remember I said I'm the greatest back when you debated the number 1 and number 2? Following the transition, we have the synthesis of this show, the revolution about to be televised. A reference to the seminal The Revolution Will Not Be Televised by the jazz poet Jill Scott Heron that has a great importance in rap history. Here he plays about the show being televised and has a similar sense as a call for black liberation and a message that true societal change will not be sanitized. Next verse. You picked the right time but the wrong guy. Right time because we're talking about the political situation of the country, and wrong guy because he will have no mercy. This also seems to be direct for Drake. The duality of personal and collective interest is repeated in the entire show. In almost all the songs we sense an attitude towards Drake's beef and a message about hip-hop and the black community as a whole. Square Ups continues the narrative of celebration versus confrontation. In the bottom we see street kids chilling, the homeboys, and we see these dancers in red and blue, which is the color of America, but also we can think about the Crips and Bloods, which is a core theme on gangsta rap and West Coast hip-hop. And when all the dancers came marching, Kendrick is warned by Uncle Sam that he's not playing the game in the right way, saying that he has been too reckless and too ghetto. To me, this feels like an anticipation of a white conservative backlash. It's also the status quo perception of Afro-American art and culture. It also serves for the NFL, and we'll talk about that later. But against Uncle Sam, Kendrick doubles down and sings Humble. Here he shows the American flag split in half as a metaphor of the American society. Also, I understood a message about the role of African Americans in the building of United States. Leaving the square stage, Kendrick walks in the streets of his hometown Compton, singing DNA, a song about the joy and sort of being a black American man. In Euphoria, his first solo diss track about Drake, the feud turns into a fight ring, or what I saw some people commenting, a prison yard. Anyway, light fences are designed. Here he focuses on the verses about his authenticity and empowerment. Then he goes close to a light post where the homeboy dancers are hanging out. On top there is a guy lying down, like in this PG Lang commercial. The image of boys on top of lamp posts are commonly used in Kendrick's videos, a sign of subversion and vigilance. This doo-wop version of Man at the Garden talks about the expectations that people have about his art and warns those who might mess with him. This remix has a hi-fi beat, which is a rap style, a subgenre from Auckland. Uncle Sam come back to penalize him for not playing the rules and using cheats, reinforcing the idea of societal control and punitivism against the black community. After he goes to the cross stage. The cross or X in PlayStation and in Japanese culture means no, and it's a negative button. The stage resembles a prison and he sings Peekaboo, a song about the duality of reality and falsehood, where he critiques the superficiality in modern culture in the context of social media and the music industry. Closing the song, he threatens to play Not Like Us, that he drank so hard that he sued him. Here we also have a play about control and sanitization that we are seeing the entire show. Leaving the cross or X button, he goes to the triangle, which in PlayStation means direction or viewpoint, also meaning Japanese culture, so-so or partially applicable. This section is the most calm and palatable, singing Luther with SZA, a song about love, vulnerability and resilience. I remember reading a time ago that in Gen X this is a love letter to hip-hop, the same way that Gloria is a love letter to his pen. Talking about SZA clothing, she contrasts in red using a jacket signed Cry Baby, a track from SOS Deluxe Lana about her sensitivity and emotional nature. In short, I think this section is about finding strength and support in those we love and care about. This sense continues in All the Stars from Black Panther soundtrack. Here we go to the circle stage, a symbol that means yes and confirmation, and we watch all the dancers coming to the street marching as a call for action and transformation of our reality in a peaceful protest. The triangle and circle sections are those that Uncle Sam likes because they are like inoffensive. His speech has a conservative tone when he exalts a nice and calm past in America, but we need to think what moment in the history of the United States was like that. Closing the show, he pushes to the limit singing Not Like Us. As it happened on the Pop Out Ken and Friends show, Kendrick celebrates the West Coast rappers and calls for the union of his brothers. In the transition, he quotes the 40 Acres and a Mule order, an unfulfilled promise made to formerly enslaved African Americans after the Civil War. And the verses follows. They try to rig the game, where he critiques systemic manipulation and stating the power of authentic voices and movements to real change. During this first part, we see the flag color dancers getting on the floor as if dead, while the Compton homeboys are dancing on a circle, meaning their victory over the system. The great tennis player Serena Williams appears dancing the Crip Walk, a dance move related to the Crips that she also danced in a match at the 2012 Olympics and received backlash for that. Here she challenged the censors like Kendrick was doing. I think this resumes the discussion of the criminalization of black culture. In the past, MTV had refused to play any music video that featured the Sea Walk move. Closing his statement, Kendrick raps with the presence of his producer Mustard playing TV Off, another track from GNX. He urges the audience to wake up from the mass media manipulation, going back to the beginning when he was saying that the revolution would be televised, as he's using the Super Bowl halftime as a platform to manifest politically his art. From the beginning of this closing section, we see that the buttons are crowned by people in black, which honestly I have no idea what this meant, but it was well reported about an infiltrated dancer that took advantage to show a Sudanese and Palestinian flag, by the way both unfriendly nations of the United States government. The production of course wasn't aware of that, and I bet that Kendrick didn't either. This guy ended up putting in practice the great message of this show, and he was quickly detained. After all, the Super Bowl couldn't be that ghetto, right? So here is my interpretation of the Super Bowl halftime show. This show is so far the most political that NFL has ever been. I think that everything was well calculated and he managed to pass all the NFL restrictions. Thank you for watching. The moment I'm posting this video, I think there is 100 videos like that. Well, anyway, thanks, and I hope to see you on my next videos. Thank you.